Ladies and gentlemen, it is your sweet Zionist prince back with another video. I am Tal, the traveling clad, your host here from Israel. We're going to be looking at some old clips of Bibi Netanyahu speaking. Let's take a look here. I think I've seen this clip before.
My first witness, Mr. Benjamin Natai.
Mr. Natai, welcome to the Advocate.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Mr. Natai is a graduate of MIT. He is an Israeli, and he is a man who has written widely on this question before the House tonight. Mr. Natai, is the issue of self-determination the core of the conflict in the Middle East?
No, I don't believe it is. The real core of the conflict is the unfortunate Arab refusal to accept the state of Israel.
Right.
And I think, as was mentioned earlier, for 20 years, the Arabs had both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And if self-determination were, as they now say, the core of the conflict, they could have easily established a Palestinian state then, but they didn't.
When did the issue arise then?
Well, for 20 years, we didn't hear a word about self-determination. And in fact, what we did hear, those of us living in the Middle East, was about driving the Jews into the sea. Now, after 1967, under the leadership of the PLO.
I want to pause real quick. I think this is very important for those of you guys who may not know. For a very long time, both Egypt and Jordan occupied the West Bank and Gaza. Jordan, the West Bank, and Egypt, Gaza. There was never any talk about establishing a Palestinian state. There was no such identity as the Palestinian people, at least not in the framework that we know it today. There was no concept of I mean, so much so that on the Palestinian or on the Jordanian, one of their dirhams or dinar, I forgot the currency, they literally have the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Dome of the Rock, on their currency because a lot of Jordanians believe it's actually their land. And that's why the Jordanian Waqf is the one who actually controls the Temple Mount today. So just so you know, you see me repeating terms like Palestine is a scam. When you look into Palestine for more than 3 seconds, you do realize that it's a bit scammy. Like the history is not clear, it's not factual, and it's not rooted in any sort of like historical data.
So the hardline strategy shifted to adopting a moderate, dressed-up slogan, which now talked in terms of first a secular democratic state and then replaced it with Palestinian self-determination. But what this really means, contrary to what Mr. Aruri said about 1977 being a changed year in the PLO's objectives, let me quote you what the PLO Information Office said in a Dutch paper in 1977, in May 5th.
77?
May 5th, 1977, yes. The statement was very simple. Our objective remains the destruction of the Zionist state of Israel. So let's keep in mind that what we're talking about here is not the attempt to build a state, but to destroy one.
Correct. There's never been any mainstream desire. Still today in 2025, he's talking about 1977. Even today in 2025, there has never been one mainstream Palestinian objective to create their state that doesn't involve destroying the state of Israel. There's not one. You can't find it. It doesn't exist.
Do the Palestinians have a right to a separate state?
Well,
Mr. Ajami has been talking about human rights.
well, I think that no, I don't think they do, but I think that it's quite instructive that the Palestinians who are invoking the right of self-determination, which is an attribute for separate nations, themselves are the ones who define themselves as part of the Arab nation. Now, no one is denying that there are Palestinian Arabs. There's a very distinguished Palestinian Arab sitting right next to me. But the Palestinians themselves, in the Palestinian National Covenant, the very first article, say that the people of Palestine, quote, are part of the Arab nation. Well, let's look at the Arab nation. It has 21 states, an area roughly the size of the United States, and 1/6 of the entire world's wealth. Now, add to that the fact that there already exists a Palestinian state, and that is Jordan, 60% of whose population is Palestinian. I think it's quite interesting that Yasser Arafat and King Hussein, who are bitter enemies, agree on one thing, that Jordan is a Palestinian state. So what we're talking about is a demand for a 22nd Arab state and a second Palestinian state.
Wow, this is actually probably the first time I've made it this far through this video. I think I've seen this before, or at least clips of it, and I realized how much of Bibi Netanyahu's framework I actually use when I'm debating or talking about this. I have quoted that specific thing as like creating, where is the moral and ethical justification to creating a 20-something other Palestinian state, a 50-something other Muslim state that you know is going to devolve to just be an Arab ethno-state that serves the purposes of Arabism and Islamism only. There is not going to be moderation for Christians, Jews, or anybody who doesn't fall under the framework of being a Palestinian Arab Muslim. There's not going to be any sort of quality of life improvements for those people. Where is the moral, ethical justification? Just because Palestinians identify as a group of people, that's not a moral, ethical justification to creating it. There's no moral, ethical justification for creating that kind of state that you know is just going to devolve into that horrible human rights abuses.
What should be done with the Palestinians on the West Bank? There's a problem, so what should be done about it, in your opinion?
Well, I think that the Palestinians in the West Bank are going to be offered the full human rights, the full civil rights, as no Arabs are offered in the Middle East. No Arabs whatsoever have any full human rights or the right to vote for their own government. Those Arabs who lived in Israel in the pre-67 boundaries are the only Arabs in the Middle East who are offered that right, and I'm all in favor of having the same Arabs living in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip being offered such a right in the final peace agreement.
Can we have peace in the Middle East?
Very briefly, please.
Yes, I sincerely hope so. Look, I'm 28 years old. I've had to defend my country.
Wow, that's what Bibi looked like when he was 28? He looks a lot better put together than I am at 28. I'm 28 years old. Wow. Damn, Bibi. Okay. Bibi looking sharp for 28, I'm not going to lie.
In 2 wars and in many battles. Nobody wants peace more than Israel. But the stumbling block to the road for peace is this demand for a PLO state, which will mean more war, which will mean more violence in the Middle East. And I sincerely believe, if this demand is abandoned, we can have real and genuine peace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Craven. Now we'll go to Mr. Ajami.
All right, now we're going to get the Palestinian side.
Mr. Natai, you've told everyone that the Palestinians on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip will enjoy full human rights. Could you tell me how that's compatible with the presence of Israeli forces in their midst?
Well, the Arabs living now the Arabs who lived in Israel, 400,000 of them, 400,000, between 1948 and 67, as I said earlier, certainly enjoy full human rights. And as I said, they're the only
I'm not talking about the Arabs in Israel. I'm talking about the Arabs on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip.
If you let me, I'll answer your question, Mr. Ajami, please. The Arabs living in Israel are the only ones who are entitled to vote for their governments, the only ones who have representative in a parliament in the entire Middle East. Now, it's true that the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are now undergoing a period of transition. In fact, no Arab government has been willing to negotiate so far about this period of transition. And I think that when this transition, when negotiation period is ended, there is no reason why under either Jordanian citizenship or Israeli citizenship, these Arabs will not have the full human rights, the right to vote for their representatives, as the Arabs in Israel do, as hopefully all the Arabs in the Middle East will do someday.
Mr. Natai, does the State of Israel itself accept that the people on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip have the right to vote on whatever future they choose?
Well, Mr. Ajami, I just outlined that in the event that this negotiation process will continue, I'm sure that what we're talking about is in fact eventual citizenship of some kind, either Jordanian or Israeli or in any other arrangement.
What this Palestinian gentleman, I think his name was Mr. Ajami, is what he's trying to sort of insinuate is that do Palestinians get the chance to decide their own future? And here's what I say to this. You did at a certain point you had, but there's a cutoff. Now you definitely don't. Now you don't get to decide. In my opinion, we get to decide for you. The only option is you get to decide if you want to have peace or if you want to keep fighting us. That's the only options really left for you. But after nearly 100 years, we're 76 years into this conflict, you guys as a community of Palestinians have shown nothing but unwillingness to have peace, to forward the idea of peace. Nothing but the desire to kill and conquer and spread Islamism and Arabism in this region. You guys have unfortunately embraced an ideology of ISIS in your community, to the very smallest Gazan, to the very oldest West Bank Palestinian, unfortunately. So, sorry, Mr. Ajami, I know this is probably a couple decades late, but I don't think you guys get the right anymore to choose what happens in your future. Now, people who are more mature than you and who have matured in this region better and built a society that they're proud of, that works, that functions properly somewhat, not saying it's perfect, we get to decide for you because you guys have proven to us that you can't do it yourself. And I always bring up this equivalence of, I think Palestinians are like a friend, right? I think as Jewish people, we see them as like our friends. And it's a friend that keeps fucking up in life. They keep doing drugs. They keep, messing around and not succeeding in life. What does a good friend do? Or what does a bad friend do? A bad friend lets that other friend keep doing what they're doing. They don't help them progress in their life at all. What a good friend does is a good friend helps them pick themselves up by the bootstraps. Okay, as the state of Israel, as Israelis, as Jews, we have been a bad friend to the Palestinians because we keep thinking by allowing them to do their own shtick, they'll eventually progress. But that's insanity because we keep doing it and they keep fucking it up over and over and over again. Every time we leave Palestinians to their own devices, they keep fucking up. They have no ability. These people who identify as Palestinians have no ability of self-governance. It doesn't work for them. But look within Israel, even within Israel, you see already an improvement under Israeli law. Arab Bedouins of the south coming up with sheikh-like structures, sort of emirate-like structures where they do take care of their own and lead and govern properly. We should strive to do better for the Palestinians, to help them actually improve themselves. I don't think by leaving them to their own devices, we're able to get to that reality.
Which these people will certainly vote.
Mr. Netanyahu, you've given yourself the right to determine that you are an Israeli, but you've also given yourself the right to negate the other entity, which I think is not somehow consistent with global practice at this time, is it?
Mr. Ajami, I have never rejected another entity, nor have I ever declared my intent to destroy it, least of all the Palestinian Arabs, who I fervently want to live in peace with. All I'm saying is that it is the Palestinian Arabs themselves, their leaders, Arafat, Muhsin, who Morris Abrams quoted earlier, Farouk Kadumi, the number 2 man in the PLO, these are the ones who say they are part of the Arab nation. These are the ones who say they already have a Palestinian state. There is no right to establish a second one on my doorstep, which will threaten my existence. There is no right whatsoever.
Okay, Mr. Netanyahu, you seem like a very patriotic Israeli. Does not the fact of Israeli dependence upon the U.S. in order to maintain its occupation on the West Bank and the Gaza, does this not trouble you at all?
It's so crazy that decades later, we're still talking about the same shit, huh? Nothing has changed. Yet I sincerely hope that something actually progresses in this conversation, because I don't know when this was filmed. I'm assuming it was like at least 50 years ago, maybe 40 years ago. Maybe less, maybe 30, 35 years ago. Just thinking BB's age. I think BB's 70, 28. Yeah, it's probably around like 30 years ago. You got to hope that we progress in this conversation. Like, we're talking about the same shit then we are now. It's crazy.
Mr. Ajami, you asked me as a patriotic Israeli, and I'll answer as someone who has fought in the Middle East. One of the things that I think is unique about Israel, in terms of all America's allies, is that it is perhaps the only one who has taken care of itself so far. And I would think that America, in fact, it's not a one-way street, Israel taking from the United States.
True.
Israel is giving the United States an extraordinary bargain in the Middle East. It's the one stable democratic ally which the United States can count on.
Mr. Netanyahu, inasmuch as you're a Zionist and are committed to a Jewish state, given the fact that demographic predictions tell us that there will be an Arab majority within the current borders of Israel, does this not challenge the foundations of the very state which you are committed to?
I know of the latest population figures, that actually show a decrease in the Arab birth rate, particularly in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, as a result of the higher education and the universal education for women that didn't exist prior to Israel.
Damn, that's a good reply.
Ask me, would I reject Palestinians or Arabs living in our midst? Ridiculous. Of course not. They're citizens of Israel. If they...
No, I'm talking about the West Bank and Gaza. You see, we're still going back to the core of it.
Yes, I agree. Whatever will be the final arrangement, these people should be free to multiply as they wish. I think that it is written in the Bible, multiply and be fruitful. I think these people should have that right. I'm not going to start enforcing a birth control program under any circumstance.
Thank you. With that biblical injunction, I will turn to Mr. Abram, one more question.
Pretty fantastic reply, actually. That's a really great reply. I might use that as well. That's a great reply.
Mr. Natai, since the subject is what should the United States do, may I ask you if you could summarize why, in your opinion, the United States should oppose the creation of a PLO state?
I think the United States should oppose the creation of a Palestinian state for several reasons. The first one being that it is unjust to demand the creation of a 22nd Arab state
Correct.
and a second Palestinian state at the expense of the only Jewish state.
Correct.
I think it also would defeat the hopes of those moderate Palestinians who genuinely want to reach a peace accommodation with Israel.
Thank you. Mr. Jami, another question.
Mr. Natai, as someone who would say that you believe in democracy, do you believe that Israel can continue as a garrison state and still remain a democratic state?
Mr. Ajami, either you didn't hear what I said before, or for your benefit, I'll repeat it again. No, Israel does not intend to remain a garrison state. Israel wants to live in peace and wants to be secure. If that involves maintaining military guarantees, our own military guarantees against the destruction of people who surround us, yes, I believe we should fight for our survival. If I have to, I'll fight again, but I hope not to.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
That's the best.
Thank you for joining us on
I feel
the
like
conference.
I feel like that's the best summary of the Israeli mentality. We don't want to fight. We really don't want to fight you. We're not interested in fighting you, but we will if we have to. And we'll kick ass doing it. We will win because that's our track record. It's just what we do. You come and attack us, the Muslims, the Arabs, the Palestinians. You guys come, you try to threaten our future. You want to destroy who we are, the fabric of our society. We'll win. We'll conquer more land. And we'll either do that for peace, or at this point, I don't think we should be giving back any more land. Arabs have lost their right to the land that they mismanage and use to attack us. If we conquer land at this point, I really believe it should be ours, and we should use it to hold secure borders for our country. That's all I got to say. I love you guys so much. Love you guys a long time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye, Clats. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.